What's happening, everybody? Welcome to the Breakaway Podcast. Look at this place. It looks good. All these jerseys. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We have a fantastic Sunday conversation for you. Before I introduce you to our guests, who I got to talk out in Atlanta, Georgia, too, at the NCAA D1 Women's Swimming Championships, TPUSA Live. You know, you got to love Breakaway because you got to dig me a little bit, right? If you're watching and listening to this. And if you want some more of me, TPUSA Live. You can go to tpusa.com/live. I am live every single weekday at 1:30 from the couch here at TPUSA HQ in Phoenix, Arizona. We give you the truth. We give you the news. We talk about entertainment and do whatever we can to fight back against this crazy woke culture full of identity politics and full of letting men compete in women's sports. We can have the conversation till we're blue in the face about how this is wrong. We all know this is wrong. If you understand biology or you understand morals whatsoever, we know that Leah Thomas being allowed to compete in the swimming championships or even just on any women's team whatsoever is wrong. But someone who's doing some incredible work is Beth Stelzer. She's teamed up with some incredible women and other activists around the country, even around the world, to start Save Women's Sports. It's been around since 2019, and they are trying to defend women at all costs. When I first went out there, they were very close to the McCauley Aquatic Center entrance on Georgia Tech University's campus where the swimming championships was held. I talked to her and so many other incredible ladies that are trying to express to people, this is why it's wrong. We're not just here to complain about it. And they're trying to do whatever they can to have a seat at the table with the NCAA and not just protect women's sports in the NCAA, but just girls' sports in general. There's absolutely no reason why biological men should be a part of this. She also dives into the psychology because she's actually gone through some really tough individual circumstances herself, even with some abuse that she opens up about. And that's what's happening here. Not a lot of people are talking about the psychological, about what it's like for a female athlete going to a safe space. I know I bring that up in the episode. I don't like the phrase, but when you go into a changing room, you expect that to be a safe place. And then when you have someone waltzing around with male genitalia, it's psychologically ruining these women. And men are erasing women from the history books. They're taking away opportunities. It's a shame. It's wrong. But Beth does a great job breaking this down in such a way that it will inspire you and give you the tools and resources to fight back against this. So upon further ado, Beth Stelzer of Save Women's Sports.
All right, we're outside of the Georgia Tech Aquatic Center with Beth from Save Women's Sports, a huge part of the protest group outside of the Aquatic Center. There's been a lot going on throughout this entire weekend, but first and foremost, I want to hear about the mission and goals behind Save Women's Sports.
Well, first, thank you for the opportunity, and I apologize to the audience. I have a cough drop in. We're pretty hoarse. We have been chanting and cheering for these women all week here, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Our team is basically celebrating our 3-year anniversary of advocacy. We've gone from a free website that I started a few years ago to now an international coalition with laws in our name. And we came to celebrate our 3 years by celebrating these girls who are bullied into silence, that are getting their titles, opportunities robbed from them. And it's not fair. And they deserve a voice because women matter. So brought my team down here today to let them know that we won't back down and we won't compromise when it comes to women's rights.
And then what's been the response from the other side? Because the other side, I know I've talked to them myself, and they seem to have this cultural aspect of it from their side down. But when you get down to the nitty-gritty of sports and real science, it seems like, I know a lot of people brought up,
they can't even join the debate when it comes to actually talking truth and facts. They're just caught in their feelings, and they really can't justify their position when you start talking facts. It was very fun to watch Colin Wright interact with them. It was like knocking them in the head with an encyclopedia. Like, you want facts? Here it is. Like, they cannot justify their position to us, and I find that really interesting. And they're the ones saying that we're harassing them, but yet we're getting called all these vicious names, hateful signs, getting flicked off, etc. we're just cheering for girls is all we've done. And we've never engaged negatively. Right now, actually, there's representatives from both sides of the aisle having a very civil conversation. And it is just refreshing and lovely. Most of these are obviously college students, it looks like, that are gathering across the street. And you know what? I give it up to them for exercising their First Amendment rights to be here.
And then you were the one that had the Save Women's Sports sign that you draped over the railing, and I know that went viral. Tell us about that moment and some of the responses you've been getting in person and online.
It was very interesting, and I appreciate the opportunity to share my story about it. I saw Leah was coming up to swim, and I decided now was the time to get out the flag. And I saw that right in front of my assigned seat was an NCAA banner on the railing. And so I jumped up, held it over, and I actually wasn't there for very long. So I was grateful that the cameras caught me, because one of the hired security there told me to effing put it away and to effing leave.
They told you to get out, and they used profanity.
They used extreme profanities, and this is a very large man screaming at me, a woman who has suffered from PTSD, from sexual abuse and domestic violence. Luckily, I'm a power lifter. I got strong on the inside when I got strong on the outside, so I knew I was in the rules. The only thing I did wrong was hold the banner over the railing and possibly block some people's view behind me. So I was very respectful. When he did tell me that, I knew I was within my rights, folded up my flag quietly, and resumed my seat.
What were the responses you were getting inside of the aquatic center too? Because I'm sure there's a few people that are going to be murmuring, and I'm sure there's a few people that they're obviously afraid. They're afraid to speak. But did you get some like pats on the back? What happened?
And my team has been shocked. We started out Thursday, and we'd get some parents, etc., that would walk by us and kind of let us know, with a little subtle gesture. And today they're walking out going, yeah, give me that book, give me that sticker, give me that button, we'll support you. So it's really been great. And last night we saw people starting to chant with us, and it's just great to know that we have the support and they know that they're supported.
And I think a tough part about this too, a lot of the conversations that I've had inside of the aquatic center is, it's just like so many aspects of our society. People don't know how to speak on this, and it just gets hyper emotional, and they know this is wrong, but they just don't know how to break it down specifically. So how do you encourage people to say, like, whether you have a religious foundation or you just agree that men are biologically have an advantage over women? How do you tell people to talk?
Backgrounds come together for this. It's totally nonpartisan. Religion doesn't have to be a part of it, but if you come from that part, fine. Whatever it is that brought you to this, come to our team. Mm-hmm. We won't compromise. Save Women's Sports is here to say that women matter. We're not worn. We're born. Yep. We're not some costume. It's not identities that play sports. It's bodies that play sports. Yep. I'm tired of being painted as being anti-trans, when in fact I fully support any person's right to play sports, just fairly. And that means according to your biological sex.
And then there's this aspect. I know I was asking them on the other side that were pro Leah. I was asking, it seems like what you're breaking down a woman as is just testosterone levels and feeling. And it didn't seem like they had a good response to that, because I feel like in this country you can believe what you want to believe, you can change your name to what you want, and you can be whatever. It's a free country. But when we talk about specifically sports, tell us how this is not an advantage over these women, and tell us how you're actually protecting women by supporting what's going on here.
It's absurd to think that a male body can become a woman by any means, let alone lowering a testosterone level. And let's look at the facts here. These testosterone levels that we're looking at between the IOC and the NCAA have been 10 and 5 that they've played around with, nanomoles a liter. An average woman is under 1, under 3 most. So you're looking at up to 10 times still the amount of testosterone that a woman would have, that these males are allowed to still maintain and compete. It's just, we're getting conflated with little details that shouldn't matter, right? It's simple. It's absurd that I need to be here. Males, females, it's all it is. We don't need to conflate it with things. Women are not a hormone level.
And then also, too, from the NCAA side of things, it seems like that's where everyone is very upset. And I think from my viewpoint, I do understand the argument of right now Leah is playing by the rules. But also at the same time, that doesn't make it just wrong on the NCAA side. Leah knew that transitioning to a woman was taking advantage of a situation, taking advantage of women here. So but specifically from the NCAA perspective, if you were able to sit down with them, also, have they reached back out to you? Have they given you the time of day before I ask the full question?
The only response that we have gotten back from them was after our petition of 300 athletes asking the NCAA to step up almost 2 years ago was leaked. They doxed our athletes that was supposed to be in a private petition. So we heard back from them about that they basically weren't going to do anything to help us. And that's the last we've heard from them. They had meetings where they supposedly consulted women. Can't find any of my over 40 women's organizations that are on my side that were consulted. Some of the top athletes speaking out, they weren't consulted. I'd like to really know, the NCAA and the IOC, who were the women that were consulted, because it seems to me the only, quote, women on their panel were men assuming the identity of women.
And it seems like right now, too, there's a massive push from places I know, like ESPN's covering this event right now, and they are constantly talking about social issues and how to protect women, how to make sure there's more media coverage, especially when we're talking right now with March Madness. Men's March Madness obviously it's going to get more viewership because there's more sponsorship dollars, there's more entertainment, and people are just more attracted to that. But when it comes down to how do you actually protect women, and some of these women out here are some of the best in the world. Watching Reagan Smith swim today, it's fantastic.
The swimming, the diving, these athletes, it's absolutely incredible to watch them out there, and to think that they're suffering not only with a male competing against them, but these girls are forced to share their locker room with these males. And I think a lot of people in the audience don't realize that these males self-identifying their way into sports, hospitals, rape crisis shelters, they don't have, quote, bottom surgery. A lot of these males are intact male bodies. So let's be honest, these poor girls are forced to share their locker room with a male body, a male strutting around with his intact genitalia out. There are girls on that team who have suffered from sexual abuse that should not be forced to deal with that. And when any of them raised the alarm, you know what they did? They told the girls to basically go see the campus shrink and change in another locker room. It's absolutely absurd. Why don't their voices matter? I have suffered from these things. I understand what the PTSD is like. You need a sex-separated space to feel safe. I want to know that when I go into the bathroom, I'm not going to run into anything that might possibly harm me like that. And a male body is a threat, whether they are a threat or not. In a woman's head who suffered abuse, that male body is a threat, and I should have the right to have my own space.
And then I hate the phrase safe space, but I mean, I feel like that's the best place to say, like, you know, bathrooms and changing rooms, they should be a safe space for women. And knowing that it's not just women's records being erased right now, it's not just opportunities because they finished outside of the top 8 and they're not able to make it to the finals. It's actually this psychological damage that it's happening, having to change in the same locker room as a man here. And I think that's not being brought up. It seems like now that there's more than just the sports conversation. There's obviously a cultural aspect to this. There's the psychological aspect, especially too. It's not just women being erased from the record book. It's not just losing out on opportunities because they didn't finish in the top 8. They're not able to be a part of the finals because that's taken by a biological man. We're talking about the psychological harm and damage that's happening to these women because they're having to see a naked man in the locker room and have to deal with these kind of things.
And the psychological harm goes beyond just seeing the male in the bathroom. We need to look at the little details that are making a huge difference, and we need to start with this preferred pronouns. That's psychological abuse to tell a woman that she has to identify a man as a woman. It's going against our natural instincts. And now this culture that is jumping onto this gender ideology bandwagon is now training next generations to accept male bodies in their sex-separated spaces as normal. And I'm not saying that any male that is self-identifying their way in is going to be a predator, but we need to have a place that we can feel safe from predators. And that means that women deserve a sex-separated space. And like you said, it's sports, it's rape crisis shelters, it's hospitals, it's prisons. I don't think a lot of people realize that there are male rapists, like males who have raped children, that are now in prisons with women, and they're harming women. And they're not only harming women, they're getting transitions on the tax dollar.
Well, you know what's silly is men and women's sports. And you know what else is silly? This look right here. But something that's not silly is Good Ranchers. I know food is a huge part of the sports experience. And what if you could party down with your friends, maybe go a little sports watch party and donate to TPUSA at the same time as eating good? Now you can with Good Ranchers. They sell 100% American meat, and they believe so much in what we're doing right here that they'll donate $50 to TPUSA on your behalf when you purchase from them. Good Ranchers delivers steakhouse quality beef, chicken, seafood, right to your door. And with our code TPUSA, that's TPUSA, donate 50 buckaroos to our mission while getting absolutely delicious food. Head on over to goodranchers.com/TPUSA today. Get ribeyes, New York strips, gourmet burgers, and so much more. Anything your heart desires, order now with promo code TPUSA, and $50 will be donated to our mission of sharing and preserving true American values, which includes getting men the heck out of women's sports. Go to goodranchers.com/TPUSA to get a box today. Once again, use promo code TPUSA at goodranchers.com/TPUSA. Do good while you eat good.
Everyone knows about Loudoun County, or at least I'd say the vast majority of Americans have heard about that story there. And that's when somebody took advantage of a transgender law. And that is on a campus. That was on a high school campus. But I remember, like, when I was in college, hearing so much about me being an athlete, about how we need to be protecting the women on campus, how we need to be respecting the women on campus, and knowing that, like, there's a reason there's security all around this campus, on my campus when I was going there.
It comes down to it, if you can't define a woman, how do you protect her? And when we erase sex and put in gender identity, it erases the definition of what a woman is. A woman is simply an adult human female. And this conflation of language is how we're getting to this destructive point in this toxic environment, because there's no clarity. We need to use proper pronouns, not preferred pronouns. And in the media, thankfully, we have some media like you guys that are telling the honest truth. They're male bodies. It's a he, not a she. And if we were all open and honest about that, I think that the world would be more knowledgeable. But we're just running into these roadblocks that the cancel culture keeps throwing in there, red herrings to throw people off from finding the honest truth. And that is, this with sports that we're seeing is the beginning of the erasure of women in our record books, in history period. There's no asterisk to show that Leah's record was set by a male. Generations ahead now are going to look up to that and go, oh, maybe I'm just not training hard enough. And they might not have in the history books that was a male body. We need to be clear, and we need to make the right history. We need to make the truth, and that needs to be recorded.
And I know something for me, just specifically on the sports side of things, there's some people that are on both sides of the argument when it comes to, like, Barry Bonds. Like, for me, I love baseball, and the reason I don't think he should be a part of the Hall of Fame is because he took performance-enhancing drugs. And I don't understand people now when they basically say, like, you're born performance enhancing over women.
Exactly.
So,
I'm an amateur power lifter, and USA Powerlifting was one of the first organizations to make a rule that said it's not fair for you to compete against a woman because we don't let dopers in. Why would we let you in? It just makes sense. And that's actually what started me on my journey. I went to the 2019 Minnesota Women's State Championships, and I worked so hard to get there. And when I got there, my whole day was tarnished because this man who wasn't allowed to compete as a woman protested disruptively the entire event while we were lifting, etc., the entire day. So that's why I knew what to do with my team to stay respectful. We're holding signs, we're doing what's right, and we're letting those girls know that they matter.
Yeah, because I feel like that should be the focus here. This is not just about one athlete, and I feel like that's like everybody I've talked to. That's what.
We're not here to target anyone. This is just simply about being pro woman.
Yeah.
And that's a real woman.
Yeah, and that's where it gets to the cultural aspect of this here. It's like, what is a woman? I remember asking the other side, I'm like, can you describe to me what a woman is? And it sounds like from what you're telling me is one of the supporters over there said, it's kind of like a spiritual thing. It's kind of a feeling. It's like
feeling, right?
It's like whatever. And I think that completely devalues women. And I think that's why it's been fascinating for me having these conversations because I'm not a woman. You look at me, I'm not a woman, but
You're not?
I'm not. Shocker, right?
How do I know, though? How do I know? You have a beard.
Because I'm going to tell you my pronouns right now. No, I'm
okay,
kidding.
okay. Oh, well, we can be clear then. Okay.
And that's where I feel like there's this aspect of it's devaluing women in every aspect of society.
I look at this erasure as women as the ultimate misogyny.
Yeah. And I think that's why, for me, it's like, as men, I am always going to ask the question, and I know when I had Erica Brown and Gabby DeLoof on our podcast, just amazing professional swimmers, it's like, how do men come alongside women in this debate? And I think we don't need to get into the abortion topic, but I think I asked the same thing there. Like, there is people that are adamantly against that, and there's the other side trying to say, if you don't have a uterus, you don't have an opinion. And I think this is a cultural thing that we all need to come together. It doesn't matter what race, religion, background.
Totally
you need to come together.
My international coalition is women from the left, from the right, from this religion, from that religion, from this background, from that background. We are all coming together. And I look back at one of my pivotal figures that brought me here today, Magdalene Burns, rest her soul. She reminded us that we don't all have to agree on everything to come together on this one thing. And that's what I would love the world to do, is just wake up. We don't all have to agree, but it's time to speak up together to protect women.
So going off of that then, has there been some progress made with the other side, whether it's been people actually with the signs out there across the street from you ladies, or has it been people, coming out of the aquatic center saying, I thought this maybe when the event started, and then by the end of this weekend here, I've changed my mind a little bit. What's been the positive change?
Similar to like the response, how from Thursday we were getting the little fist pumps to now it's hands in the air. People are more bold. They weren't wanting to take our brochures and stuff at first. We were getting some cold shoulders. People really didn't want to be associated with us. They were scared, but now they're all on it. They're like, these people are legit. We're really just here for women. We are not anti-trans or trying to ban anyone from playing in sports. Just want to protect the eligibility for female sports to be on the basis of sex. And that's what Title IX was supposed to do. 50 years in June. It was already erased by Biden on International Women's Day. Yep. It's absolutely ridiculous. I had a lovely lady behind me in the stands during prelims. I know she was holding a sign that was supportive of us, and she was telling us how she grew up playing sports in the 60s and saw what Title IX did for her. And she just tears. But I want to share her awesome sign with you. Yep. DQXY. I think it's pretty simple right there.
And for people that might be watching or listening to this, what exactly does that mean? Because I know what it means.
Right. So DQ, disqualify, XY, the man.
Yeah. And I think there's been a lot of clever signs. I know, not to toot my own horn, I felt it was kind of clever.
They were so funny.
Because I put it up and it was like, dude with the signs, a big Instagram account from a guy from New York just holding up a cardboard sign. Yes, it was literally just as simple as, hey, NCAA, I got a question. Why are men competing? And it doesn't seem like the NCAA wants to give an answer to that at all. So my follow-up question would be then, I know I talked to Seth Houston, the swim coach for Rice. I'm asking the same thing, like, what's the solution? If you're able to sit down with the NCAA, maybe other activist groups, and Leah Thomas, what would be presented, and how would you find a specific solution here? What would you present?
Competing on the basis of sex. Women have XX chromosomes, men have XY chromosomes. They're very, very rare occasions of disorders of sexual development, or intersex as they're called. And let's look at that on an individual basis and how we can handle those disorders and stop conflating it with transgenderism. That's it's very disrespectful for the people born with these disorders, for people identifying a certain way to hop on and try and steal their rights from them.
Couple more questions, because I'm in the line of thinking is the best way to love people is by telling them the truth. And the truth is unbelievably uncomfortable. And even all you ladies out there protesting, that is wildly uncomfortable. It's wildly countercultural. But I think the best way for us to care for each other is getting down to not just feeling, but like what is the truth? What is morality here? What is biology? And I think if people are going to continue to tell Leah that there's something that they're not, all they're doing is hurting them more than helping them.
There's extreme power in honesty. I've testified before. I say that my tongue is my sword and the truth is my shield. Yeah. There's great power in just speaking the truth. And I found that once I haven't backed down to the bullies, the death threats and such, stop, because they know I'm not going to stop. I won't weesht. And that's a saying from Scotland. I mean, this is going on all over the world. This isn't just the United States. All levels of sport, all levels of sex-based spaces. We have women that are not only threatened with their scholarships, their jobs. Yeah. They're getting sued. I'm currently in the middle of some stuff that it's ridiculous that I could get faced with discrimination for calling a male a male.
Yep.
What kind of world are we in, John? Mm-hmm. I'm so thankful you guys are here to spread the truth.
Yeah, and I think that's what we have to do. And there's going to be, I know I posted about this the other day. I'm like, this is the time to speak up. And it's not just, hey, we have a heightened moment.
It's already too late.
Yeah.
It's already too late. The floodgate is starting to open, and if we don't close it now, we will not be able to get women's sports back. It will be co-ed sports eventually, but soon we will just have male sports, because we know that the top females can never compete with the top males. Women will just fade away, and that's exactly what some people are wanting, the erasure of the definition of women.
My final question for you would be then, right now, it's just, once again, such a heightened moment. There's so many eyes on NCAA Division I swimming and on one athlete. But the fight doesn't stop at the end of the finals tonight. The fight's got to keep going to make sure that women are protected and women's sports are protected at all costs. So what's the fight going to look like after this weekend, and what can people do to help?
They can come on our website, savewomensports.com/takeaction, and they can join up to be in our next protesting team. There will be more sports these next few months and through the summer that are going to experience the same atrocity, and Save Women's Sports plans to be there and not let it go down quietly. So our plan is to be around anytime this is happening. Males shouldn't be competing as females. It's just simple. Why am I here? I'm just a mom. I'm just a mom who had a hobby of powerlifting and had this crazy experience happen. Never in a million years did I think I would be here. The other average moms out there just need to start speaking up, because it's almost already too late. And if I can do this, help create laws, help get on ESPN News with a banner, what can you do? Yep. That's what I want to tell people out there. It's time. What can you do?
Yeah, and that's why I think we need everybody to come together. And I think you've said this before. So many of you women over there have said, like, we're just not some sort of extraordinary people that have like superpowers. We're just ordinary.
I'm very uncomfortable being in the spotlight. I'm extremely introverted. I'm stepping out of my comfort zone every time I put a Save Women's Sports shirt on, but I do it because I know it's right.
Yeah, and I respect that so much. And I hope people respect that too, even the way that you ladies go about it. There's going to be a lot of people that just see some photos and a few little clips online, but they're not going to see the interactions that are happening right outside of the aquatic center. And I think you guys are trying to actually come to the table. Talk to people on the other side here. Talk to parents, spectators, everybody. Let's try to get down to the truth again and understand a way forward. And you are not just a group of ladies that's just trying to shout people down from the rooftop of your own ideals. So I appreciate that.
Thank you so much for the opportunity and for shining a light on this madness.
Thanks a lot, Beth.